Hey boys and girls, today we are going to review adding and subtracting fractions. We are in your module 1 through 9 book on page 175. We're just going to go through and answer a few of these. Also, make sure you have this sheet, mixed numbers and improper fractions. We're going to do some renaming of them, and that's going to be turned in for today. So we're going to discuss this, but these pages in the book, that's going to be our lesson for today. So make sure you're on page 175 so we can go over this together before you do your classwork for today. Alright, so the first one says you can use a blank to compare and estimate fractions. You can use a benchmark. So that's meaning that half, 0, or 1/2 to help estimate and compare them. We use benchmarks. You might say common denominator, but there's a better answer for that one here. Alright, a blank uses a different numerator and denominator to name the same part of a whole, meaning they're equivalent. They have the same value, but they're using a different numerator and denominator. That would be an equivalent fraction. Alright, the blank of two fractions is a common multiple of their denominators. Tells you their words right there. That would be a common denominator. And we have talked and used those a whole lot. Let's skip down to number 6. Our directions say estimate the sum or difference. Right now we are using those benchmarks to help us. Doesn't say solve it. 4/10. I would probably round that to 1/2 because half of 10 is 5. So 4/10 is close to 5/10, so I'm going to say a half. Next is 7/12. Again, I think half of 12 is 6, so 7/12 is close to 6/12, so that would be 1/2. So I think an estimate for that is 1. Number 7 says 7/8 minus 2/5. 7/8 is almost 8/8, so that would be 1/2. 2/5. Half of 5 is about 2.5, so that's about a half. 1 minus a half is a half. This is important because it helps us know if our answer is reasonable, like we've talked about. All right, we've got some whole numbers here. 14 and 1/3. A third is less than a half, so I'm going to say I'll round that just to 14. 3 and 3/4. 3/4 is almost 4/4, almost a whole. I'm going to round that one up to 4, so my answer would be 10. Number 9, 5 and 2/12 plus 6 and 2/3. 5 and 2/12. 2/12 is not close to 6/12, like a half, or it's not close to 12/12, so I'm going to round that down. 6 and 2/3. 2/3 is more than a half, so I'm going to round that up to 1, so that would make that 7. So that would estimate to 12. Okay? Number 10 says find 2/3 plus 5/6. Name the strategy or tool you will use to solve the problem. There are lots of different strategies and tools that we can use. I think I would just want to use a common denominator because I can already think of one. I know that they have a common denominator of 6. And I know that 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. And 4/6 and 5/6 is 9/6. I know that's called an improper fraction. 6 goes into 9 1/2 time with 3/6 left over, or 1.5. I know there's 6/6 in there and 3 more 6 left over. Okay, let's look at the next page. Oh, thought I lost it. Okay. Which is equivalent to 10/12 minus 1/4? So saying which one, equals that. Which one is equivalent? Again, I don't have my common denominators. I've got to figure out one. I like to look at the larger number. So 12 could work. Because when I'm counting by fours, I say 12. I will keep my 10 twelfths the same. I didn't change that denominator. 4 times 3 gives me 12. 1 times 3 is 3. So 10 twelfths minus 3 twelfths is 7 twelfths. You could have used some other denominators, 48, 24. But this will give you the smallest one in its simplest form. Alright, the distance from Malik's home to a grocery store is 6 miles. The distance from his home to a park is 3 3/5. How much farther from Malik's home is the grocery store than the park? Alright, I like this one. There are different ways that you can do this. I am trying to figure out the difference in 6 and 3 3/5. I think I'm going to grab a sheet of paper over here. I'll have some more room so I can explain it. So you can do it two different ways. You might, because we know 3 3/5 plus something has to equal 6. Some of you might work backwards this way and say, okay, if I add 2/5, that would give me a whole. That would give me 4. And then I would just need 2 more to make it equal 6. So that's one way we can think about it. Some of you might think about it this subtracting way. If you do that, and we have a fraction here but not here, that might be kind of confusing. So that goes along with, do you understand what is inside of this 6? So if I want to have a fraction, couldn't I say I have 5 wholes and 5/5? Because 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 plus 1 is 6. Minus 3 3/5. Then 5/5 minus 3/5 would be 2/5. And 5 minus 3 is 2. So there's two different ways that you might think about how you would solve that problem. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's come all the way down to number 15, which is equivalent to the sum 2 3/4 plus 1 1/3 plus 2 1/4. All right, we have 3 numbers. I'm going to write them right here. Again, there are different ways that you can do this. Some like to add 2 together and then add the third. I like to go ahead and add all 3 at the same time. Then I'm finding one common denominator for all 3 of them. So if we think about a common denominator for 4 and 3, most likely y'all are thinking 12. And I'm going to write mine right here. 3/4 would be equivalent to how many twelfths? 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 twelfths. 1/3 would be 4 twelfths. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 4 is 4. And 1/4, 4 times 3, 1 times 3 would be 3 twelfths. Now that I have that for all of them, I can add them together. Always do your fraction before your whole number. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 twelfths. Let's go ahead and make that into a mixed number. 12 twelfths would be 1 whole. And then we would have 13, 14, 15, 16. We would have 4 twelfths left over. So 16 twelfths equals 1 4 twelfths. Don't forget these, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that'd be 6 4 twelfths. Can we simplify that and make it a smaller amount of fractions? Instead of 4 twelfths, we could say 1/3. 6 4 twelfths is equivalent to 6 1/3. On our paper, they did not simplify it. They kept it in the twelfths. but if we didn't see it simplified, we would know to do that to solve it. Alright, so now I want to go over your work that you're turning in for today. We are going to change each mixed number into an improper fraction and each improper fraction into a mixed number. I'll do the first one on each with you. 9 1/5. So we're thinking, how many fifths is that? We're just going to have our fraction. So think about it. If it's in fifths and you have 9 of those, that would be 45 plus 1 more fifth would be 46 fifths. You can also think 5 times 9 is 45 plus 1 is 46. We're figuring out how many fifths that is, just as a fraction. Do that for the rest. Number 7 down here is an improper. We're changing it to a mixed number. Remember, a fraction is a division problem. So we are saying 21 divided by 4. How many 4s go into 21? That would be 5, because 5 times 4 is 20. So there's 1 more left, 5 1/4. Always check it to make sure 4 times 5 is 20 plus 1 is 21/4. So your job today is to finish filling this out, make sure it gets turned in, and do your best.